everybody, it's Eric Pappenfuss. It's Friday, so it must be a buy day, and we are here at the capital of Rhode Island in Providence, where we have journeyed all the way to film Pawn Stars. That's right, Pawn Stars is tomorrow. We don't know if Rick is going to buy any of our books, but we're getting excited. And filming today is my brother David, who just trained all the way up and is going to present one of those books tomorrow to Rick, Corey, and Chum Lee. Now, David, I thought in honor of Pawn Stars tomorrow, I brought my lucky penny, and we ought to do an episode that brings us some good luck. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an episode devoted to coins. Yep, early American coins, or specie, as they called in the 18th century. And I know that you're a bit of a numismatist, aren't you, Dave?
I am indeed.
That's right. And if you're watching at home and you're not sure what that is, it's a fancy word for a coin collector. All right, here we go. We've got our box. We're opening it up. Now, the first book this week came from my friend Phil Monteleone at the Book Pebble in New York State, Smithville Flats. And this is the first book ever to reproduce an image of an American coin. Now you're gonna have to walk towards me a little bit, David, to get a picture of this. But this is the book called The Federal Arithmetic. And here to the right, badly torn, is a picture of one of the first American dollar coins. Now if you wanna see what that looked like in all its glory, here's a modern picture of that title page. Now this book is famous because it's the first book to reproduce an American coin. Coins only started in the 1790s with the advent of the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia. And this is a book written by a Yale graduate by the name of Chauncey Lee. And the book is also famous because it is the first book in American history to print a dollar sign. And that got me thinking, I wonder if anyone knows, where did the dollar sign come from? What's the history of the dollar sign? So David, and you can play along at home, I'm going to give you 3 options for the origin of the dollar sign, and you tell me which one you think it is, all right?
Have I been given the answer to this question?
No, you have not.
That's correct.
All right. Option number 1 is that it is an amalgamation of the letters U and S for Uncle Sam. And then eventually they dropped the bottom of the U, and that's how you got the dollar sign. Option number 1. Option number 2, it's actually an abbreviation of the Spanish word pesos, because pesos were the first forms of dollars. Remember, in the American colonies, the British used pounds and guineas and pence. They didn't use dollars. It was the Spanish and the pieces of 8 that were dollars. And when you wrote a P and an S and you mixed them together, you got the origin of the dollar sign. And option number 3, David, it has nothing to do with abbreviations or letters. It's actually a slash mark for each decimal point. So a slash for a penny, 2 slashes for 10 cents, and for $1, it's 2 slashes with a line through it. $10, 2 slashes with a circular line through it. Those are 3 options. Now, while you're weighing your options, let me say Thomas Jefferson, who always had an opinion about everything, he thought the abbreviation ought to be a D with a horizontal line through it, but it didn't catch on. He was basing his on the abbreviation for the pound, which is of course an L with a horizontal line through it, but Jefferson's D never worked. All right, which one do you think is the true origin of the dollar sign?
I'm locked in, Eric.
All right, which will it be?
Option number 1.
The Uncle Sam?
That's
well,
correct.
Let me tell you, that is the one option it isn't. I'm sorry. It depends. If it's handwritten, the peso abbreviation was used by Spanish American traders, and some people believe that that's the right answer. But this guy, Chauncey Lee, well, he used slash marks for decimal points. And if you come here, this is the first page ever to use a dollar sign in American history. You can see a mark for 10 cents, a mark for a dollar sign, a looped mark for 10 cents, and then eventually an E for an eagle. So that's Chauncey Lee and the interesting origins of the dollar sign. This book is also interesting, David, because it has a list of subscribers, and subscribers were the people who decided to buy the book. And if you look in the very back of the book at the list of subscribers, look who the number 1 subscriber was. John Adams, that's right, President of the United States at that time when this is published in 1797. Okay, let's get to our second book, shall we? Our second book is also on coins, specie, and That book came from Phil. This book came from our favorite bookstore in New Jersey, a bookstore called the Old Bookshop in Morristown. And it was not very expensive because, look, it's just a random volume of the works of Joseph Addison published in 1753. This is the third volume. It's part of a broken set. Not that interesting, right? But it happens to be Addison's volume on coins. And if you look in the book, you'll see that it reproduces a history of all of the great coins of the classical world. And that's pretty interesting, right? Well, this book was owned by a person who actually worked at the United States Mint. And there he is. Howe was his last name. And it was Howe in Philadelphia who printed those eagles that you saw in the last book. Can you believe it? So this is an early U.S. mint worker's copy of a book on the history of coinage. But that's not all. No, that's not all, David, because look at this great inscription on the front page. It says that it is Isaac Howe's, but it was bought at John Hart's vendue. You know what a vendue is?
I don't.
A vendue is like an estate sale. And so this would have been bought at John Hart's estate sale, which would have taken place just after the Revolutionary War. And John Hart is interesting because John Hart is a signer of the Declaration of Independence from New Jersey, the same state where we bought this book. So, and his signature today can still be found on early American currency because in that Confederation and colonial period, people wrote their signature on coins and on printed currency. So, a second interesting book. All right, we have time for one more book, and this one takes the cake. Do you remember episode a couple weeks ago when we went to the Brattle Bookstore, one of the inspirational models for the Midtown Scholar? Well, at the Brattle, I got some books, and I showed you a picture of the bags with the books, but I didn't show you the books inside. And this book here is a wonderful book. It is called The Memoirs of Stephen Burroughs, and it was discounted because it appears that it is only volume 1, and it is in terrible condition, and nobody knows who Stephen Burroughs is today. But in actuality, it's 2 volumes together, which oftentimes happen in early American books. So volume 2 is published after volume 1. So the book is actually complete. And Stephen Burroughs isn't just anybody, David. Stephen Burroughs is one of the first great American counterfeiters. That's right, a man who went to jail again and again and again for counterfeiting American currency. And Robert Frost, the great American poet of all people. Now, Burroughs was from New Hampshire, so I think that's probably why. But Robert Frost said that this autobiography belongs next to Ben Franklin's autobiography as one of the great autobiographies in American history because it is an autobiography of a scoundrel, of a man who did nothing but break the law again and again and again and was arrested for doing it, and arrested for doing it, and arrested for doing it. Now, at the Smithsonian Institution in D.C., David, they have one copy of one of the counterfeit bills that Stephen Burroughs made. I'm going to show you a picture of that. I find it really interesting. He would sign his name Burroughs, and as you can see on this one, it's stamped counterfeit. The Great American. All right, and now we're going to end with a funny book. Hopefully all those books will bring us good luck tomorrow, and Rick will offer thousands of dollars for our amazing books that we're bringing to Pawn Stars. But our funny book for this week, since we're on the road and since I drove hundreds of miles, it's a good one. It's called Manifold Destiny, the one, the only guide to cooking on your car engine. That's right. Your car not only can transport you, but serve as your stove. And this book has a step-by-step guide to how you can wrap your food in aluminum foil and place it upon a hot engine, cooking anything that you'd like, from flapjacks to eggs to pancakes to even a recipe for nifty nachos, which I have to say I would not recommend cooking on your car engine. Well, that's the funny book for this week. Thanks for watching. Next week, we'll let you know how it goes on Pawn Stars. So keep watching next Friday and every Friday for more adventures in the world of books.